Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Mama Mandala. I'm Hagar. So grateful to have this moment with you in this space. It is 8-8 Lions Gate, and I say it with that little bit of attitude because, you know, I'm not a huge believer, not in astrology, not in anything really, but I find the archetypes, the mythological exploration, and the way that we can weave our reality through the realms of the imagination, through the excavation of qualities and energies that are both universal and move us on individual levels from the unconscious and bring them into the light of our awareness. I find that to be very helpful. I find that to be very useful in these times in particular, which are really challenging times, and in a way in all times, because this is what humans have done for tens of thousands of years, is to weave mythology into the way that we live our lives, into our reality. So faith mm, is only one aspect of this exploration, and some feel like they really need it in order to move through the world. Some don't even question it. They kind of have faith, and some like to it's me perhaps, and maybe a few others like to poke at it a little bit more, to lean away from it. Personally, I lean away from faith because I have seen the way that religion and that believing in things have damaged this world. And of course, there's aspects to faith that are going to be very helpful for our human life. And of course, even a non-believer has faith in certain things. But I like to invite myself and others, so hi and welcome and thank you, to explore these realms of, let's just call it spirituality, because that's a term that a lot of people can understand, not less through the lens of believing in it and more through the lens of being inspired by it and moved by it in other ways, so that it starts to become a conversation that we have with seasons, with the cycles, with the moon, with the different archetypes in the constellations, with our own breath, with how we move our bodies, with mythology, with stories, with the movies and the TV that we are watching. So we can have this deep exploration that that helps us map and weave our lives together, not so much in believing in something, but in a whimsical way, in a way that we can be filled with muse and be bemused and have a more have access to our creativity through these conversations. This is a little bit of a longer kind of entryway into 8-8, but I felt like I had to do it because I want to explore this portal that astrologers and many people believe is very, very powerful. And I want to do it with my eyes open in both directions, out into reality and into the unconscious, so it's in multiple ways, right? Out into let's say a day-to-day kind of living perspective, and into a more sacred, intentional kind of a way. And it is a portal that that astrologers say is deeply helpful, deeply powerful, wildly engaging for setting intentions. And I'm a huge fan of setting intentions. I'm a big fan of giving myself the time and the space to renew my, we can even call it vows, with myself, with my life, with how I live it. And in the world today, in this very difficult time when we're experiencing what we're experiencing on so many levels and through so many layers of our own being and collectively, to be able to do the work that we want to do on ourselves and to set the intentions that we want to set for our lives so that we can live the life that we want to live if we're privileged enough to be able to even contemplate that, and to ask ourselves the questions of how do I, again, weave is the word that keeps coming to me, how do I weave my personal desires, my personal aspirations into the needs of the collective, into the stories the story that is being told right now in the culture, into the changes that I wish to see in myself and in the culture and in my relationship to the culture. So instead of making it really simple, make it complex. Allow it to move in multiple directions at the same time. Let it be mycelial. Let it be the way that under the surface of us, things move in many directions and connect things in ways that are not very easily accessible for us to necessarily understand, but deeply generous in the invitation for us to receive and to explore and to question and to create with. And so it is I think of 8-8, my interpretation of it is that it is a creative portal. Now, right now, this particular Lion's Gate is pretty fun because fun and in this life right now, in the world right now, I'm not gonna focus so much on that word. It just came out of me and I feel self-conscious about it. But it's an interesting and kind of exciting portal, if you will, because obviously 8-8 always happens in the season of Leo. So it gives us the courage and the boldness of the lion. So it's Lion's Gate. It's that invitation to step into this archetype, the archetype of Leo, the archetype of the lion, that is both royal, right, which evokes a sovereignty and and a powerful kind of leadership and an autonomy, and it's a wild animal, right? It's a beast. It's the power of the creative, wild, untamed force within us all. So what if I like to explore astrology and all these different spiritual traditions, tarot, all these different modalities in the spirit of what if. My bestie and I love to kind of explore that with one another. What if this moment gives you the power to weave, again that word, together the wild creative power of you into the way that you are also in the driver's seat of your life, the wildness of your creativity into the way that you are going to step into the rest of this year, into, it can be just the next day, it can be the next week, it could be however long you need, want, desire, in a way that invites you to empower yourself. And this 8-8 falls also on the full moon in Aquarius. So Aquarius and Leo are always going to be in on the opposite side of the spoke of the wheel of the astrological wheel. So they're opposite of each other. So therefore, there's a completion there. So Leo is very much of the light of the sun as the light of the individual radiating out, and the shadow of that becomes narcissism and egomania. But the beauty of that is that the only way we can see the light of the sun is not by looking at the sun, but by looking at what the sun is lighting. So Leo at its best is this powerful capacity to light everybody else up. And the power of Aquarius is the power of the collective. Leo is known for the roar of the individual, and I'll add, how can the roar of the individual inspire, uplift, connect to other roars, be echoed through the community, serve something greater than itself. And then Aquarius is the invitation to take turn roaring, right? To move through the circle and give everybody time to say their piece. Aquarius's orientation is toward the community and the collective. And I think because, astrology has been cultivated in a patriarchal world, so it's very much focused on the male lion kind of archetypal qualities. But the lioness is a communal character. She is a part of a net of lionesses, of a community of lionesses. They take care of each other. They take care of each other's cubs. So in the Leo archetype, we can start as we break up with the patriarchy and break down the patriarchy and start to explore some other ways. The Leo archetype can become communal, can turn its orientation into the way that the sun is lighting everything else. And so that the focus is, I'm not saying let's not turn the light on to ourselves too, but make it go both ways, right? Which is really what the sun does, if you think about it. So the sun rules Leo, and the sun is very still in the northern hemisphere, very strong in the sky. You can think of when you think of Leo, when you think of Lion's Gate, you can think of Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess, and you can think of ancient Egyptian, of the ancient Egyptians seeing this, feeling this time of year when the sun is scorching in the desert. It's as fierce and as intense as the goddess Sekhmet, right? It's this lioness that roars and scorches those who are her enemies. And so with that, it's intense. And of course, this is a story. Oh, I feel like I got myself into trouble there. So much that I had to cough. But it's this, look, it's intense right now. And I don't know, and probably you don't know, and we all don't know how to deal with fascism on the rise. Not on the rise, like really here. How to deal with the leaders of the world doing the things that they do. The leaders here in the US, like having Trump in power. We need a little Sekhmet. We need that protective, that is also destructive power of the lioness's ability to roar and send out the fire of her ferocity into the world, right? The scorching sun of 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 the desert, that kind of power. And yet I'm not here's that cough again. I'm not calling on violence at all, but I'm wondering, how can we access this great power in us as we stand at this threshold, in this moment, in the intensity of the world? How do we call our own our own protective ferocity forth? How do we do it in a way that creates more care? Because what we're fighting against and what we're fighting for is for more of us to be cared for, I'm not even saying for justice, because it's such a complicated issue, right? And justice can be looked at from so many angles, and it can be argued in so many ways. They can argue, and then I do that alienating thing, but they think that they're right, that they're fighting for justice. Not the leaders, but the people that are being lied to and pulled and like a herd after these horrible leaders. So how do we, through this portal, in this time, how do we cultivate the kind of ferocity that we're going to need? Because we're going to need it. How do we sustain the fire of our ability to transform and digest and shift and change and protect ourselves, right? Because fire was used in early humanity not only to cook, but also, and not only to create the light in time of darkness. All of that really applies for now, metaphorically and really, but also used as protection, right? The fire can create a protective boundary around the camp from predators. And we have a leadership that is a leadership of predators, literally. So how we can participate, we can call on each other, we can connect to one another, we can walk this portal into our shifting from male lion to the lionesses. Not because we don't need the male, of course. I'm not canceling male energy, but the femininity, and through that we also include and weave in the non-binary, is what we need right now in this grand time of collapse, in order to survive. So that's the protective power of the fire, but also to create, to generate. That's a feminine encoded power to receive, right? We're receiving where the world is and what is actually happening. We receive ourselves as capable beings. We receive each other and our capacity to work together for something collectively, right? And that's a lot of Aquarius energy too, that I'm hearing myself speak of here, like in this Aquarius full moon. And to use our creativity. This is something I'm really focusing on right now for myself and the work that I do. It's that we need our creativity right now. We need to be inspired. We need the wildness of the lion, the creative force of our being, the spark of inspiration that lights up the fire of our capacity to make something else of something that is, to keep shifting, changing, and reshaping the world. This is so crucial right now. And this is a time where the ferocity of Sekhmet is as kind of a necessary, or we can think of Kali in the Hindu tradition. We can think of Durga. Durga is a great goddess for right now because she is the ferocity of Kali, and she is also the beauty and the ability to appear more like the culture, more like art, like Saraswati and Lakshmi. These are, we can go much deeper into that. I'm just kind of sprinkling a few ideas for you, but Durga also rides a lion. So she has that regal power. She rides the lion, right? The vehicle is the animal, it's the beast that is both the ferocity of our wildness and it's a lion. So there is again that regal, royal, sovereign power in that. And we can bring both together right now. Maybe that's this portal, is this invitation to weave the creative wildness into the way that we lead, with sovereignty, with collecting ourselves, with being able to pull things together and lead our lives and sit in the driver's seat. And to do that in that way of Aquarius, the water bearer, who is an air sign in this season of fire, and the ability to make the way that we live a communal, collective experience. And it's not easy because we live in a very in a capitalistic culture, right? That affects not just the West, that is the capitalistic culture, but affects everything. It affects the whole world. We know it affects indigenous cultures. We know what it has been doing to the world. So to bring, and I'm thinking of the way that there's people like Sophie Strand that teach us and tell us and invite us to explore the way that we are part of a bigger community, that there's the community of the collective of humans, but that there's the more than human world that we're a part of. When every breath that we breathe weaves us together with the world. We've never been apart from the world. Every breath brings in oxygen made by plants, made by trees. Every exhalation creates the passageway into your voice, your exhalation, your spirit, right? Breath as spirit, reabsorbed and nourishing the world around you. And this is a time of nourishment. So one of the beautiful things to kind of bring us into another layer of this portal is that the full moon in Aquarius is Lunar, Lughnasadh. You can pronounce it in a different way. Lughnasadh. Different people pronounce it differently, but this is a Celtic pagan holiday that marks the midpoint between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. And it is the first harvest in Celtic tradition. It's the harvesting of the grain, so it's time of the mother of the land in her most nourishing, giving form. She is now ripe, and the food is on the table, right? The nourishment and the whatever has been growing is now ready to be eaten. We're ready to take that back in. And the earth is not yet at the time of being ready to reabsorb what has grown, right? We're not yet in fall and moving toward the darkest time of the year, but we're moving toward darkness. The light is shifting. Lughnasadh, when we start to see that, oh yeah, summer solstice had this grand light, and yeah, I'm starting to see that the sun is moving south again. And so in the northern hemisphere, the days are getting shorter. It's that time. This is the time of summer when I start to get a little sad. It's the end of summer. My kids are going to go back to school soon. It's when I was a kid, I was really getting sad during this time because I was going back to school. So there is this beginning of the autumn grief, even though we're not in autumn. The direction of growth is turning, right? Things have moved up all the way till the summer solstice, and then the ripening is happening. There's this expansion from summer solstice to Lughnasadh. You can kind of think about it that way. And then it's starting to shift. It's going to move down toward the earth, but it's not yet dropping to the ground to be reabsorbed. It's this invitation for us to be nourished and for us to nourish one another, to be nourished by stories, by ideas, by food, by the things in the culture that are beautiful. Maybe there are some people out there that are doing inspiring, beautiful, and there are gorgeous work that we are so touched by and so excited to receive and to be fed by, right? And this is a time for us to consider how do I nourish others? What is the work that I do that gives something back to the world, not back in that in a transactional way, but giving generously from ourselves, from our hearts, from our depth, from the depth of our being. So this is a time to let our creativity and how we bring it into the collective be touched by, inspired by, thought of, felt through the capacity to nourish and be nourished, to feed and to feed, right? So the generosity flows because there is something really generous, not only in the way that we give ourselves and give of ourselves, but in the way that we receive one another. To receive somebody else, to hold space for them, to listen to them, is deeply generous. And to be able to receive somebody else's gift is deeply, deeply generous. When someone wants to give us something, as we receive it, we actually offer them back a great gift, right? And this is a season of great gratitude. We start to turn into the things that have worked, the things that we made, the things that have grown, the things that we have cultivated, the things that we have received since, let's say, the beginning of the year, right? Since the winter solstice. This begins this season of gratitude. I really love the way that the pagan the 8 holidays on the wheel of the year in paganism really kind of one melts into the other, and they're always in relationship with one another. They stand in a significant and kind of distinct way, each on their own with their own character, but they melt and sort of weave into one another because they're always in relationship with one another, right? When there's Lughnasadh in the northern hemisphere right now, it's Imbolc in the southern hemisphere. So there's that movement, actually the opposite. Things have moved down, everything died, and in Imbolc, things now start to churn beneath the surface to go and break through the toughness of the earth. The ice is not yet melting, but it's going to start melting. So there is this awakening toward the sun as the power of the sun starts to gain itself again, right? So one is always in relationship with the other, because this is a whole planet, because it's not just one side. There's always another side. And that reminds us also that wherever there is a light, there's also a shadow. So not to be, I'm not going to say don't be afraid of the shadow. We have to be afraid of it. It's a good idea, but not to demonize it. The fear is helpful. The fear can be, it's not is helpful, but it can be helpful. Fear can be life-saving. So how do we incorporate fear and not be ruled by fear? And that's the courage and boldness of the lion that invites us. I think of the courageous lion in the Wizard of Oz, right? Like, of course there's fear, but the courage is woven in. The courage can't be. Courage is not courage if there isn't fear, right? The boldness has to do with feeling nervous, but rising anyway. Rise anyway, my friend. Rise anyway, right? Rise and give a hand to another. Let them support you. Support them. We're in this together. Generously, generatively, creatively. This is a time of the heart. The lion is the heart. And I imagine us walking together, and as the lion opens their humongous jaw to roar, and that's the portal. That's the 8-8. That's the lion's gate, and there's teeth, and it's scary, and we're gonna go into the belly of the beast, and we'll be digested in there, and we will be moving in a way that helps create something else from the fire of Sekhmet's ferocity, right? Dissolve certain things that aren't helpful and make new things. But I think that when I think of that, when I think of dissolution and destruction and how scary that can be, but how helpful and needed that is also. And I say that with being careful, because when people lose, when the destruction is so fierce that there's a lot of grief there. I'm not saying that with in a way that disrespects. I don't mean to, at least disrespect the horrible, right? And I think that in a way, this is what this administration is doing. They are disrespecting there's this, we're going to destroy everything that was, and I see it on the left too, this desire to destroy everything because things have been damaging and not good. But there's also been great things, right? In the systems, systems are flawed. So to make better systems, and this is just me thinking it out loud, I don't have solutions, but to make better systems, I don't think we need to burn down everything that was and start from scratch, but rather step by step, and that takes time, and that takes patience. That neither Leo nor Aquarius, neither one of those archetypes is known for their great patience necessarily, but Leo is a persevering energy, so we can draw upon that, and there's this great strength. So we need patience as we change the systems. It might be too late. Everything might be burning. This might be not even something that's helpful for right now. But maybe in us, on the individual, in the system that you are, You make soft, slow changes. You don't burn it all to the ground. You have to work with what has already been, with what is already there, and learn how to pull the threads that are helpful and cut the ones that are not. But they're still going to be part of the fabric that you are. So there's still a use of what was. And that transformation in the belly of the beast will eliminate certain things, but assimilate and use others. So may we do this with our loved ones. May we do this in a circle. May we do this in a community. May we do this for the collective. May we do this deep work on ourselves so that we can also be in relationships and create healthier relationships with those around us and with the world. And that's hard. It's not easy. It's not like, oh yeah, that's going to be fantastic and fun and easy, but it is hard. It's hard right now. I know it's hard. Hang in there. I'm telling myself that as I'm telling you that. But we have to have each other. We have to have each other's backs. We ride the lion with Durga together, and there's a wildness there in the way that she's portrayed. She's portrayed as a lady. She sits on the lion, not with her legs spread out on riding the lion, right? Like she sits in that old kind of more, not old, but old between the more patriarchal kind of a vision of what the feminine needs to be. And she's not necessarily, she's not overtly sensual or sexual. That's not what you think of necessarily when you think of Durga. You think of her as this goddess that helps you through hard, difficult times, like her name, Durga, tough going. But again, we ride the wildness. And I'll say it with that wink, right? Like that riding gives us access into our wildness, into our primal energy, into primal desire, even the primal desire that leads us through this maze of life, invites us deeply into the setting and the grounding and the connection to our intention, to what it is that we want, to what it is that we want to make, to what it is that we want to bring to the world, to how it is that we want to live our lives. And how we do that has to stay in relationship to a collective, to the net that holds us and the net that we have to keep weaving and hold for others. And do it generously, in the spirit of this time of year, in the spirit of this season that places the growing fruit and grain on the altar of life to nourish ourselves and one another. So have a beautiful lunar Lughnasadh. I know that the solar Lughnasadh happened on August 1st, and it's not even the actual precise solar Lughnasadh. It's kind of when it's celebrated, but the actual is a few days later. If you kind of think of actual middle point between the solstice and the equinox. So may this lunar Lughnasadh nourish your soul, your heart, your spirit, your body, your friendships, your creative power. And may this lion gate be a portal of the kind of transformation that you need. And may you do that in community. May you be supported and support others as you walk into the belly of the beast. Be creative, be wild, receive your gifts, share them wildly, share them widely, and I thank you so much for joining me. And if you like this, share it with your people, put a like on it. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my mailing list over on mamamandala.com and my Substack on Substack. I will leave a link for you, all the links for you in the description of this video. And I am so grateful that we got to have this moment together. So thank you so much. There's so much more that we can talk about when it comes to these topics, but we just touched the tip of things. And hopefully that will give you access into greater depth in other ways. Okay, thank you, and I hope to see you soon.